Tonight's DJNTV show is sponsored by the following: DJ Event Planner, Electro Voice, Max Photo Booth and DJ Booth Design, DJ Trivia and DJ Bingo, ProX Direct, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, Odyssey Cases, Perfect Portals, JMOZ Lighting, and Instant DJ Requests, along with the DJNTV Insiders at DJNTVtraining.com.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. It's Monday night. We're here. We're all together. It feels like it's forever. I can actually see you guys. It's awesome. It feels like forever since I've seen you.
It is a thing, isn't it?
It's been a bit of a roller coaster for schedules and all kinds of stuff, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been.
Just a little. Just a little.
But we're back.
Oh, my goodness. But we are.
Much.
I think they survived. There was a good replay last Monday, and Howie's the man, just holding it down for us in like every other hour of the day. The boy does not sleep. I swear, he doesn't. He like eats and does DJNTV. That's it. That's all he does. It's all Howie all the time.
And speaking of Howie, he'll be on after our show tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern, and he's going to have Trevor coming in from Australia, and he's going to talk a little bit about what business is like down there, how things are going down there. So that'd be kind of a fun interview. If you guys have ever been in there when Scrap has been into the chill room, djntv.com/chill. This is a night to get to meet him if you've never met him before, and if you have, it'll be kind of a fun night to learn a little bit about what DJing is like in that part of the world compared to middle of the country USA.
Here they have to stand on their heads.
They do, because the songs are played this way.
He has some good stories. All joking aside, he has some good stories and what's required down there. It's different than us here in the United States and Canada and different places. So definitely worth tuning into.
So before we get into the topic tonight, there's a couple of things that I wanted to just throw out for those out there watching. First off is, you guys have heard about the whole thing in Singapore and such when it comes to how that's affecting supply chain. Well, initially, before that part of happened and before whatever other things happened here, we were thinking that summer of 2022, our supply chain of DJ gear was going to start to improve. Well, not only is it not going to improve, it's going to get a lot worse between now and the end of the year. There are many manufacturers who basically have just written off 2022 as we're not getting anything, so we're going into survival mode. So what that means for you out there as DJ end user is that if you are needing gear for your fall homecoming dances, you need to be ordering it now, because some companies will be getting some things in, they hope, in September. Some companies will be getting something in by April of next year, maybe the first time they see gear. But if you're needing something, you're going to probably have to do some kind of poking around and seeing who thinks they can either have it in stock or when they can get it. And as much as you guys know that Ben and NLFX Pro are they with us and big sponsors of the show and such. Sometimes there's going to be things that they can't get. It's not their fault. It's just the way things work. The big companies in the big retailers, they can kind of get things first once in a while. And as much as it stinks, you might have to be a little flexible. And this is one of the few times I'd say that you're going to have to shop around instead of just going right to Ben. But it's just, their hands are tied. There's nothing they can do, and they want you to be able to have the tools to do what you need to do. So it's going to be a tough time. And I think our trip to DJ Expo here in August is going to be I think disappointing. Not that it won't, the show itself will, there will be friends and things there, but we were hoping to see the return of gear and the return of new gear. And I don't think we're going to see that. There might be one or two, but there won't be 20, 10 or 20. And that's what we were hoping for. So
one thing I would also say is, don't take it out on the people that are doing the sales, because I can guarantee you there is no retailer out there that is going to go, I'm not going to sell to you.
Nah.
Mm-hmm.
No, like I'm sorry, if you're reaching out to buy product and you're like, and you don't, if they tell you they don't have it, it's not because they want to sell it to like their warehouse. They want to move anything that they can, because it's all more money coming in for their pockets, which they need right now. So do not. I saw some different posts where people were taking it out on different companies. Like, again, it's completely out of their control. They are not doing it to you on purpose, I promise.
Yeah, and it comes from it's the manufacturers, but even in the manufacturer side, but they can't get things here. No matter what they want to do, they can't get it here because the plants that make the stuff are in some cases still shut down. And then from there, they have to come back, and then they have to build, and then they have to get it boxed and shipped, and all these different aspects of it before it gets here. So there's a lot of things, and they just aren't coming together. How often do we buy? How often do you buy new gear? Generally, every year. Speaking for myself here, is I spend between $2,000 and $5,000 a year is kind of my gear budget. So this year, I added some new Bluetooth lights that will be coming. They were supposed to be here in March. I will maybe see them by the end of summer because of the delays. I bought a couple of subwoofers. They were supposed to be in February, and I ended up having to do exactly what I was just saying. I had to go to a third or a different spot than where I was going to initially get them, because I needed to have them for shows. So after several months of waiting and hoping that they would appear from the company, they didn't. So I had to go and find them where I could find them. But most of the gear, I mean, Dan, when's the last time you had a piece of gear die on you?
I've been very lucky. Now that you say that, I'm going to be screwed this weekend. It's been a long time since I've had anything quit on me. I've had buttons go bad. That's always seems to be my problem. So where I can make my way through it, but it's not ideal. I've never had anything quit on me completely.
And it's been, I've had some little things like that. As a mobile DJ, something doesn't work, you make it through it and then you replace it. But that piece of gear was probably with me from 4 or 5 years minimum. I mean, there isn't too much that has been, unless I bought something on the cheap, and this has happened. That there was this light that I saw that I thought, oh, this will be really cool. I remember we bought it from the local my local shop down in St. Cloud. It's like, this is going to be awesome for our high school dances, and it was a knockoff version of the Vertigo. But it was cheaper than the Vertigo, so I was going to buy it and save money. It probably made it like 2 minutes into the show, and then that was the end of it. And that one, yeah. So most of the stuff has been very good. MJ, how often do you change your gear out?
I've got like 12 comments I want to comment on. The first thing, like John, I also have a $2,000 to $5,000 budget, but mine's for junk food and it's monthly.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And that's how come he keeps his figure. Well.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think the only piece of gear I've ever had go bad is I had a Korg Chaos pad, which is an effects unit, go bad once, and I was actually the second owner of it. So that, and like Dan, I've also had several buttons on several different devices go from time to time. I had a channel on a device go. It wasn't a complete, like Dan said, it isn't a complete, but you can get through the night. I tend to get a controller every 2 years. This time it was 3. It wasn't necessarily because there wasn't anything, it was a timing thing for me. Mm-hmm. I was looking, I'm going to be honest, I was looking for Denon to come out with a regular controller as opposed to the standalones, and they're just not. So that's why I had to switch to the Rain, because I did not want the standalones. I wasn't a fan of them. I may adopt them in the future. I'm not saying never, but right now what they had, I just didn't want, and I switched. But usually on stuff like that, every couple of years, I've had my speakers for like 8 years. Because not like John and Dan, I don't have to go out and do as many gigs as they do. So my QSCs have really, they've done well. But I do have a thing with cords. XLR cords, I always keep XLR cords around because I would say several times a year I have stuff go bad on me. And I'm just not one to kind of fuss with it. I just toss it and grab a new one.
Sure.
No big deal. I have this thing, if I'm somewhere and it goes bad, I tie it in knots so that I never use it, like just in case I throw it back in the bag.
Yep.
I'm like, I don't want to throw it away here. Immediately I tie knots in it and put it aside. But yeah, so, and I want to also face this, Chris in his chat room saying guitar won't sell Rev 7s. They will sell anything if they have them, but they won't sell them to you if they have previous orders standing for them.
Okay.
So if they have five Rev 7s there and they have 5 orders that people placed already, they're going to go to them, not to you. So that's the orders, because I can go in, because as Guitar Center, I teach DJ classes for Guitar Center, and I can go in and look at stuff, and I can see how many are sitting in the warehouse and how many orders that they have to fill, and that's not even going to the stores to sell. And you will see something like 50 items, 200 items to fill, orders to fill. So it's just right now it's tough. I was going to say, when John was talking about gear, I was going to say, as a DJ teacher, I think we all need to get comfortable DJing with just a laptop, because there may come a point where that's all we're going to have is our laptops to DJ with. You never know.
Yeah. And I was
jokingly.
It's funny you mention that. That was part of my Saturday. Is I had to do ceremony, and I was going to use a controller, but I was using it with a laptop that didn't connect with the controller properly. So I'm running virtual DJ off my MacBook Air, and having to do the crossfader with the click on the mouse, and then to adjust volumes and do all this and click play. And it's like, man, I wish I would have spent time and, if nothing else, got keystrokes down. If set up a right deck play and a left deck play keystroke or something.
Well, there is a shortcut in there, and I can never remember what it is, that will bring up what the keystrokes are. So it'll bring up an on-screen display of the keystroke. It's like Control-Alt-Y or something like that. And you can always use them. I can't remember what it is. I always have to look it up. But if you ever get into that point and you're using virtual and you need to, just look up online what that shortcut is. And like I said, on your screen, it will pop up a little keyboard off the side showing you
what
the play shortcuts, the beat matches, the auto crossfaders, everything is there.
Now that would have been
nudge buttons.
So nice to have, because I was using the Roland 707 as my ceremony for that, and I usually use it with my MacBook Pro, and they're fine and they work wonderfully together. But the MacBook Air, for some reason, didn't recognize it. It just said it was a USB device, and that didn't. That didn't go.
It's not gonna cut it.
Yeah, not so much. It's like, okay. And then nothing lights up. I don't know. Is the mic on? Is the mic off? I don't know. I just can't tell. It's not lit up. I had a moment of
we feel that way when that stuff like that happens. We feel like balling up in the corner and crying.
Yeah, it's like, I thought I was so prepared, but I thought to myself, well, I can just leave my main laptop inside where everyone's going to go after the ceremony, and I can just do the ceremony with it. Oh, it'll be fine.
I would advise people to if you can, get a small, cheap, even if it's one of the small under $100 Newmark or Hercules mini controllers, for things just like that, for volume and play buttons. That's something you can carry with you all the time. Make sure, obviously first, make sure it works, but always, because like even when I go out and do gigs, I have that Newmark, that the bigger one I said has the same layout as the Rain. It always goes in the car with the rest of the gear now. So just in case something craps out, I get an extra call for something, whatever, it's there. So if you can get a little used one, spend that money. It's worth to have just that. I'm telling you, that little thing. It's so nice to have
It's crazy how well it works for the size and the price.
Yeah.
It really does. I was using it. I forget what I was even using it for. It was just kind of one of those things where I just wanted to have something. I didn't want to keystroke it. And I hooked that. Oh, I know what it was. I was just doing a charity walk, and I didn't want to bring everything. So I took the computer, I set the little device in front of it, and then went right into my mixer, and it's just it's not a controller mixer, just a mixer. And then that was it. And everything else was just back and forth. And I didn't have to worry about it. It was so much easier.
Yeah.
As long as we're
And
doing,
just to throw it out there,
Yeah.
SB3 is one of the ones I keep to teach classes because that's kind of a different thing. There are so many SB3s out there, it's not even funny. So you can get a deal on a used one really easy. It has a mic. I think it has a mic, right? Hold on.
I think
It has a mic.
Yeah, I think it has a mic. Yeah.
Yeah, it has a mic, and that will get you. That push comes to shove, that will give you the things you need, and it's no power extra. You run it off the laptop, everything.
So we've got a few more questions that are floating through. So let's hit those, and we'll get to and talk about, because we've already made alluding to some of the ways that we're hauling gear, but we'll get to that. From Facebook here, are you guys seeing business getting better? They're in Northern California, and their DJ friends are getting busy again, but they're not knowing how the business is going to go, and they're a little leery about spending money on gear right now if something's going to happen again.
So from where I'm at, things seem to be the events that are happening, the frequency that they're happening, they're a little smaller, but otherwise they're what they were kind of pre-COVID as far as frequency and type. Like it's a little smaller. Some groups just are still not coming out. And then some people, because of having to pull back on their own finances for 2 years, are not inviting as many people because of paying, at least from the wedding standpoint. But to what John said, I can understand the concern for not wanting to spend gear for fear of the money from the events. However, if this is where I would say, try and set something up with who you're purchasing from to where it doesn't come out until it ships, if that's an option. Until you're, so in other words, you place the order now, put you in that queue. And then if it's 6 months, 10 months, a year before it ships, you're in line and the money's not out until it comes out. But you have to make sure you earmark for your own safety so that in a year you don't go, why did suddenly $1,000 come out of my account? Because then you got a different situation. But if you're not in line, if you're not set up for that gear, when you decide you want to get it, it might not be an option.
Mm-hmm. One of the things, let's talk a little bit about how COVID is affecting. And Dan mentioned, of course, that some of the events are smaller. Definitely seeing that around Minnesota in our area. The event I did Saturday night had anticipated 120, and there were 80 people who basically were there for the dinner part of it. That is probably going to be one of my biggest events for the season. It's just that there's not as many big events. Most are under 100 right now. But even with that, there were 80 people there. There were 80 people who came for the ceremony. They had seating for 120. Then 20 of those 80 left before the dinners, and the ceremony was outside. So it's becoming a smaller thing because of people's comfort. They were comfortable being outside in this situation. And we also have, every 10th person in our area, or 5th person, whatever, has come down with COVID recently. It's going through our area pretty well. So there's concerns, and some people are just not going to be there. My son is getting married in 2 weeks, and we've got people who are saying, we're just probably going to, see him this summer sometime, when we can see him outdoors. There's concerns because of their health, whatever. So I think you're going to see that playing, but I don't think it's going to change. The events are going to happen unless you are that unfortunate person that has either the bride or the groom gets sick or someone really close like that. Otherwise, I think the events are going to go. There's going to be some guests who don't make it. It's just the way it's going to be. The big thing I think we as entertainers need to be aware of is that we need to have a plan B and a plan C. And we just about had that situation last week because Michael and I were both scheduled to go out. And Michael calls on Monday morning and says, Dad, my throat's killing me, and my tonsils are swollen, and I feel like crap, and I can't, whatever. He's going through all these things that are kind of symptoms of the latest version of COVID. And we had COVID in the back of our house a week earlier. So there was a huge concern that, oh crud, if he's got COVID and he can't perform, and he and I were together the weekend before, then where's this going to lead? So we have our typical plan, which would be if one of us is sick. Unfortunately, that means that Lori's going to get moved into working. She and one of the kids are going to have to go and fill in for if they can. And if not, I had DJ friends lined up, so I had plan B and plan C lined up. But I think this is something that's going to become a new reality, is that we can't just have a plan one backup. We're gonna have to have multiple backups, and in some cases they have to be backups outside our family. And we've talked a little about this, but I think the reality is this is going to hit you quick, unfortunately.
Make a seg.
There's more questions coming in here on corporate work. Somebody's asking about corporate work. I've seen some people who are doing some corporate things. I personally don't do much of that anymore because, I should say, I've got one corporate event this summer that I'll be doing. It seems that those who are doing corporate work are doing more than just where they would just do like maybe some sound and such for a meeting of 150, 200 people. They're having to do a combination of sound and streaming. It seems to be still a really big thing for a lot of these corporate events because some people are making it, some are not. So it's there. It's become, I think, in my view, I think it's become even more competitive. And unless you're going to invest the money to be doing it at a high level, I don't think that coming in and doing I don't want to call it an average job, but I think if you come in there and you're trying to do something on a little bit cheaper or less expensive, it's probably not going to, you may get a one-off here, one-off there, but it's not going to be something that you're busy every week. You've got to be, have the gear, have the quality cameras, have the computers that can handle streaming in multiple camera angles, having the microphones that feed into the system, and everything's got to work and work well because they can do it themselves on Zoom and get average results. They're going to hire a company who can give them stellar results. And if you're that company and you've got the tools invested in, I think there's business for you. If you don't have the tools or don't know how to run the tools properly, it's not a good area for you.
I would also say from the, and Mikey might kind of reference this. He says he's got a company party coming up. I know things got a little weird in our area. So you talked about, COVID really running through your area right now. Back in December, that kind of happened around our area. And I had a company party lined up for a small appliance furniture place near us. And it got close and they were like, you know what, we're just not really feeling this. Like, we want to have a holiday party for our employees, but if there's an outbreak from our party, our store's closed.
Yeah.
Like it's going to close our whole store, and we cannot afford to close our store for 3-4 weeks because we threw them a party, and so I could see, that's one of those things where I could see some people being very leery. If you've got a lot of those type of, annual picnics or whatever they've got with the corporates, I would definitely say, make sure that you've got a plan set up in case they run into that same type of situation of going, what, things got a little dicey right now. We don't want to run into the risk of having to shut down our company for X amount of time. We may need to renegotiate something with you. And just, I'm not saying you have to play the bad guy. I'm not saying you have to play the good guy. I'm just saying be prepared for those types of phone calls, because they very well might happen, because we're seeing, certain areas that are having upticks again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody asked me, do I have an RCN out in my area? What is an RCN out?
Yeah.
I think it's an RCN in your area. I think it was out in your area. Do you have this, whatever RCN is?
What is RCN?
I don't know.
Royal Cola, non-toxic.
Nightly. RC Royal Cola Nightly. Do you have
Ricola not?
Yeah, Mikey, what is the RCN? I'm kind of drawn. Let's see. There was another
Royal Canadian Nerds. Sorry, Canadians.
And there goes
RCN.
There's part of our viership.
Yeah.
Gone. Well, just against MJ, they'll just put a sticker over his.
Yeah, they'll put
Maple Leaf.
Maple Leaf. Yeah.
Maple Leaf.
RCN cable.
What's an RCN cable?
I have a feeling it's probably like Comcast or something like that. If I maybe.
You're talking cable internet?
Fiber optic.
No.
I have no idea. I don't think we do.
Yeah.
I have Comcast because I can get the Comcast Wi-Fi anywhere in the city, so I'm always connected to the internet, no matter where I'm at. I get the same high speed at home, at gigs, at clubs, at bars. The only place I can't get it is one room in the one casino that's way in the back. It's the big band room where they have it very set up for sound, dampening of the sound, the big giant stage, and it's a little tough to get internet back there. So no RCN, no Royal Canadian Narcs.
When we were talking backup, somebody mentioned on Facebook about networking with their local business friends or their local DJ friends. And I think that there's a level of that, but you get to a point where if this is in an area, I mean, the wedding that I did this past weekend, they didn't have any of their makeup or hair people because they had been sick. Another friend had a wedding this past weekend in the area. He didn't have any photographers or videographers because they, in the weekend before, had caught COVID from that wedding or whatever. But they came down with it during the week of this wedding. So those are. It's going to be one of those things that having that list, yes, is going to be a great thing, and finding out who would be available and to be ready to call, because it's definitely a crazy time.
And we always have you always have this dates where it's like, oh man, everybody and their brother keeps calling me for this date. I've been booked for this date, and everybody keeps calling me for this date. Guess what? They already called you, and they didn't get you, so they called somebody else. Like this past weekend was the prom weekend for our area.
Yep, same here.
Every school that I can think of, with the exception of one who had a mess up by the venue, did their prom this weekend, either on Friday or on Saturday. And so, I had another friend of mine who he was reaching out to me. He was looking for something like equipment wise. Like he was able to do the event, but he had some kind of hiccup in his equipment. So he was calling around to get gear, like a piece of gear from people. And he's like, I would call a couple of people that I was sure they weren't working, so I could, borrow it from them and probably just throw them a couple bucks and they'd be happy. And he said, and they're working. And so it was instantly like he just that hit him, just to the fact that these guys who don't even work that often were working that weekend. So, if your only plan is the network of DJs, start thinking of that other backup, because you might find yourself stuck in, between a rock and a hard place if that's your only backup that you got.
And that's actually been something we've been kicking around here with seeing if we can put together a network through our DJNTV community of having it where the ultimate backup is a fly-in DJ. That because in many cases that you've got gear that, at the location, or you can get gear to the location, but it's really, you need a competent body who can come in there with their laptop and plug in and perform. And this is an idea we've been kind of working on and throwing around, is that could this be an option for some people? Would this save an event in a situation like that? I don't know. It's an interesting thought. Yes, it's going to cost more to fly somebody in on a Friday and fly them out on a Sunday type of thing. But if it's that, or ruining someone's wedding and then them coming back and suing you because you had a contract to provide entertainment and you didn't, where does when does that $2,000 to fly a DJ in and do that? Is that a cheap $2,000 to keep you out of a lawsuit of some sort?
And save face, and probably create a better PR type of situation. Like, listen, I'm sorry, but I really cannot be at your event unless you want me getting everybody else sick. So here's what I'm willing to do. Oh my gosh, do you know what he did for us?
We need to stop this whole thing about building portable DJ booths and DJ platforms for your controllers, and build DJ COVID blocking booths that lock you in airtight, and you can go do the gig and you won't get anybody sick. That's
and then live in them all week long, so you don't get it around into the other people.
You just drive up in a little golf cart like the Pope Mobile, DJ your thing, the arms out, these little rubber things, DJ. Drive away, you're good.
You wave to the crowd.
I'm telling you, forget all these places that are making the DJ booths and the DJ, podiums.
You need
forget all that.
The DJ bubble is what we need.
The DJ bubble.
Well, guys, let's kind of chat a little bit about moving gear and
the topic that we're supposed to talk about tonight.
Let's
Why
take
would
that.
we ever do
We're
that?
half hour in.
We probably should set a one night a month to do open question like that. I think.
Yeah, that would be kind of a fun night, especially when folks are coming from all angles. It's always kind of fun.
Yeah.
So when we get into and nothing against the Wednesday show with the virtual DJ, but when they're asking just one area questions, then it becomes, I don't know much about virtual DJ. Let's ask some Huey Lewis questions or something, that's really important. And then we could have some fun talking. But no. So hauling gear. This is something that, with the price of gas going up, has really kind of reared its head. My typical vehicle that I use to haul my DJ gear is a big Dodge truck that sits right on the other side of that thing on the wall and right on the other side. But it's a diesel. So that means right now in Minnesota that it is over $5 a gallon is what I paid for to fill the tank the other day, and it's not going to go down. I think I just saw that they were saying it was around $6 a gallon on the news tonight, and of course it's going to go up. So it becomes a thing: is that okay? How do we haul gear, whether it's from the office or from your house to the show? How do you deal with it once you're there? Because going back to Saturday, this is my first wedding or first show I did by myself this year, and I had to move gear. And of course, John can't carry much for weight yet because I'm not supposed to have carrying weight and walking on that knee. So it became a way. How do you deal with that? So I wanted to get an idea of how you have been doing it, guys, because you both you do a little bit different shows and you're carrying a little bit different types of gear in, or different, I guess different types. We'll go with that. So tell us, guys.
Well, I would like to say an observation that I made today that I just want to make sure we point this out here. And it's every week I have to have my little disclaimer. And I think this is a good one. So try to hang with me on this. When it comes to taking gear to places, we're all kind of different. I could get mine there in a big black truck. You could get yours in a 6.4 or a pink Cadillac that is chrome wheeled, fuel injected, and stepping out over the line. But whatever you do, make sure you have a license to drive, because if you don't, then you're going to have to come on and ride the train, the party train. You have to get your roll on, but don't you dare let them catch you riding dirty. Make sure you have a getaway car, or just ride in my Chevy with the white walls. But always remember, it's a Bentley to me, but to you, it's a blue car. But sometimes you're going to end up driving me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln, or the 409, or the little red Corvette, or the little Deuce Coupe, or my Hoopty. But keep in mind, you should get your car washed, because you definitely never want to have Maybelline or Mustang Sally find you waking up in a new Bugatti. So just get out on the road again, out on Route 66, the freeway of love, or where the streets have no name. But you will always find out that life is a highway. You have fast cars, and I don't know why you can't drive just 55. So take a slow ride in your lowrider. Do not ask the Lord for a Mercedes-Benz. Watch out for grease lightning, and you'll find out soon that you have been everywhere because you have fast cars and freedom.
I don't know which I'm more.
It did not take me long to come up with that, because my brain was just firing these off.
But here's the funny thing. I know at least 3, probably more, but at least 3 immediately came to mind that were country songs.
Yes.
There were a couple in there. Yes. There
was more. There was a lot of country songs.
I know there was.
About trucks and
But
tractors.
the fact it went like this, you know more than you think.
Yeah.
I never said I wasn't educated with all types of music. I just said I don't want to play it.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. So I don't know if you want me to go last about my vehicle, because people are going to hate my gas mileage.
Well, there is that. So Dan,
I recently got a new vehicle. It's a hybrid truck, and no joke, I fill up about once a month.
Yeah, but you don't drive at all other than to your events.
But keep in mind, well, I drive some, but still keep in mind that on its average, it's supposed to get 42 around the city because it runs a half off that electric motor, and 33 highway. But if you drive what's called hyper and you just don't punch the gas, I mean, I've gotten many trips that me driving from my house to the venue that the little thing tells me I got over 50 miles per gallon. And that's actually more better gas mileage than my little one-cylinder motorcycle can do. Mm-hmm. So right now, I had the previous car for 16 years. It was a two-door hatchback. And trust me, I packed that thing to the end of the earth and back so many times. You've never driven a front-wheel drive car till you've driven one that it feels like the front end is bouncing as you're steering because there's so much weight in the back. So for me, just transportation is the new truck, everything in the back or the back seats. And you talked about different gear, and this is a perfect way to kind of take this, to the next step that you guys want to. There are nights that I take speakers and my little DJ booth, the TV screen, all of that. And there are other nights that I go in with just a backpack with my laptop and headphones. So it kind of depends sometimes what you're doing, what you can pull off. So for me, I have to be a little versatile.
So Dan, which direction have you gone recently when it comes to hauling gear, like vehicle wise?
So my regular vehicle is a Toyota Highlander, and I purposely got one that would allow me to tow a trailer because I've got a 6-year-old who's still in a car seat. The last thing I want to have to do every time I have an event is take the car seat out, fold down the seats, stuff everything in there, just so that I can go do an event. And then you add in the fact that, I mean, we've talked about it before. I have the rolling booth that I do. That's not fitting in a vehicle. Like that is not fitting in the back of my Highlander. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it, even without any gear. So from that standpoint, I have kind of gotten to the point where, this is a necessary evil. Yeah, we all talk about the fact that our gas prices are going up. And yes, it's going to cost us more to go to an event, especially for those of us that typically drive an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And I don't want to downplay it, but, when you spend an extra $1 for gas, let's assume for a second you get 20 miles to the gallon. Now I know, like with what Day having the E350 V10, yes, he's getting like 2 miles to the gallon. But
like a Bugatti engine right there, for real.
But when you get, let's say you get 20 miles to the gallon, that's costing you 5 cents per gallon per mile that you're driving. So, if you do 30 miles away, it's an extra $1.50. Like, some of us treat it when we're we see these gas prices going up that, oh my gosh, that what used to cost me $5 to get to my venue is now costing me $300. It's not that to that level, right? So what I've done personally is just rather than focus on the necessary evil, which is I've got to get to my event. This increase in gas is still cheaper than buying a different vehicle for me. And as much as I might even, I like my thought, I'm like, well, maybe I could go electric, but hauling the trailer is still the kind of the weird thing for some of those. And those vehicles are like way high, in price.
And you're towing, I've been reading a lot about electric vehicles by having the hybrid. Towing something dramatically drops your distance that you can drive, like dramatically.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, or even like they've got like the Ford Transit, like the vans, they've now got an electric version of it. It's still not going to get me, it's not going to be what I need. Right. And cost wise, it's not going to offset it. So what I've done is I can't do anything about the distance to my event. So what I'm doing is my regular day-to-day driving is saying, okay, let me, instead of making a trip to the bank and then to the grocery store, I'm going to wait to where I can do both of them in one trip. So I've cut a couple miles here and I got a couple miles there. And in the end, it helps save because I can't save in my trip. Now I will say one of the things that I've also gotten to is, certain events I would take the rolling booth and that was what I was going to use. But I've been also looking at some of my events going, you know what? They really didn't care if they wanted that or not. And if I don't take that, I can put my other booth and my speakers without taking the car seat out. I can put them all in the back of the Highlander. Now I'm not towing anything, and I can get to the event using that. So if I have that option, then I've been using that. And again, trying to take out those unnecessary trips, trying to promote more with my couples. Hey, rather than meet on person, let's make it easier. Right? Your schedule busy, mine's real busy. Let's just do Zoom. Like, not even play it off the fact that, we're worrying about gas or anything else. Just, working those kind of things into helping with the day-to-day use.
And I think that the idea that sometimes we can be too frugal when it comes to, or be too concerned about that extra 5 cents a mile type of thing, as you were referring to, Dan. I think we can get to the point where we will, that it's yes, it is money, and yes, it does cost more. But if we fixate on that, then we're probably not focusing on growing our business or looking for an opportunity to connect with someone who may lead to a future sale. And I've run into that numerous times in my own career over when you're so fixated on something that's really, it's just part of what it is, and it's a small aspect of what you do, but we fixate on that, and then we miss opportunities.
And I used to hear a lady in this city that worked in the news team in one of the stations, and she used to call PODB. She would always just say PODB, price of doing business.
Yeah. These
are things that you just have to consider as part of doing business. PODB.
And I think Dan, you mentioned it, and somebody else mentioned it, of course, or the day I think mentioned with the buying a new vehicle. Everyone, I've heard that numerous times, is let's go to a cheaper vehicle to run, or a newer that is a hybrid, whatever. It's great if you need a vehicle and you can go that route. That's wonderful, but it goes back to when I bought that diesel. My friend who is a car dealer, he's like, you can buy a lot of gas for the amount of extra you're going to pay for that diesel truck. And it was at the time, I think it was close to between $4,000 and $5,000. And today, of course, yes, it gets about 24 miles to a gallon, loaded with DJ gear, headed down the freeway. That's pretty decent for what I'm hauling, but I probably, if you really look at it, haven't had enough of a price difference between the diesel, especially with the diesel being more expensive now. I probably am still upside down on that investment of the diesel engine. But
just recently, CNET on YouTube did 2 videos about comparing the two, and they talked exactly what you talked about, John, that you can take, what you're spending in gas as opposed to what you're now paying extra for car. And they actually break down different things in that. So if you get a chance, we're on CNET on YouTube. They did 2 different ones comparing the gas prices you put out, the price of the car, all that kind of stuff, and how it's strangely, depending, especially where you live, can be worse. Because they were saying Hawaii, it's average 28 cents per kilowatt, where I think it was Utah or one of the Midwestern states was like 8 cents per kilowatt. Yeah. So depending on where you live and different things like that, it's even if it's even money for even money, you have to kind of look beyond that too.
And Tim makes raise your price enough to cover the cost, and again, cost of doing business. And our contracts.
For me, I can't do that because mine are all fixed by the people that hire me. So.
And for most of us, my contract was signed last year, and it was based on the rates at that specific time. And I know some contractors and things in our central part of the Minnesota have now been adding a surcharge. I haven't gone to that route because it's, I still have some fudge. I might not be making $10 less per show, whatever. It's not a huge issue. It's not $500 less per show as of right now. So and then for next year, obviously, we're going to be figuring, we'll be basing travel expenses and things on what we're seeing this year. And it's just the way it will be.
I think you're going to be, anybody who's fixated on a minuscule piece of what we have. Yes, you have to buy gas. You have to be able to get to the events, but it becomes a small portion, really. And again, that you have no control over. So you're better off to fixate on the things with your business that if you are a person who gets to determine your own price, find a way to make your worth better, make you worth more money. And if you're in a situation, like with MJ, where you can't, because it's set by somebody else, then you need to focus on your marketing in such a way that you're going to get more events. So you have a bigger quantity to kind of offset that.
Mm-hmm. I think what I've done recently is be flexible in what you can do. For those of you who don't know, that one casino I work at, I help out doing lights there. So nights that I'm not booked, I get to go there, just by being flexible, not saying I'm only a DJ. I'm going to go make a paycheck, still in the business, still getting to network. Flexibility, I talked about this so long ago, that how that, as much as I hate it, it's so important. So sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No, you're fine. You're good. You're good.
I was going to say something about, we were talking, Dan, you had mentioned about, what was it? Oh, I remember what it was. You have to think about also money in, money out. Okay. So which are you going to save more over? Gas prices when they lower, if they lower, or not eating out 2 times a week? When you go to do a gig, eat at home instead of on the way there, or drive home as opposed to stopping on the way home. I'm telling you, the other day I went through, who was it? One of the fast foods. So I got a sandwich, fries, and a drink. Cost me $10. Me by myself. So, Lord, it's you guys that have children. I mean, you have to sell kidneys sometimes. I wonder. But look at things like that in your life. What can you cut out if you are struggling? What can you cut out simple like that can help you? Help your bottom line.
And just I gotta rant for just a second here. One of my biggest pet peeves right now is the people who I'm sure we all have them on Facebook, and you're probably, some of you are gonna be like, oh, I guess that's me. I probably Dan's talking about me, but I have people friends of mine that are on Facebook who will complain nonstop about the gas prices, but will go sit in a line at Dunkin' or Starbucks.
In the drive-through.
Okay, because a lot now, like some of ours are open and you can go in. Our Dunkins are real weird right now. You can go in and order, but you can't do it at the counter. Like you can pick it up and go. So a lot of people will sit in the line to the point we have lines into the street.
Yeah.
People are waiting 20 minutes in a drive-through line, and then they're complaining about gas prices after paying $4 or $5 for their coffee.
And
learn how to make it at home.
Here's something else to think about. Here's something else to think about, exactly what Dan's talking about. Let's say you do have a vehicle that gets good gas mileage and you're sitting in that line. While you're there, you're getting 0 miles per gallon.
And there's why
using some.
I love the hybrids.
Yeah, mine shuts on and off constantly. So I sit there a lot and use it because the little battery thing, I can drive quite a bit without even the engine kicking on. But for everybody else, my friend Chuck used to talk about that. I'd see people go somewhere and just sit in the car and work with the heater on or the air conditioning on. He's like, they're getting 0 miles per gallon. Why don't they just shut it off and get out?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Go find a shade tree or something.
Yeah. Go in the store, go home. But there's little things like that, like Dan said, that you would not believe in a month how much those kind of things add up. But if you are at that point where things are pushed, you can do stuff about it immediately. But it's going to be that latte that you have every day is you just got to figure out a way around it.
That's for sure.
Delivery. Forget having stuff delivered and tipping people. Make it at home.
But wait, don't you get tipped yourself if you carry your own pizza?
It's Domino's. Yeah. That's Domino's.
You do what?
Pick it up yourself.
Yeah, if you pick it up yourself and you carry it in the house, all of a sudden you get a Domino's delivery hat that appears on your head, and maybe your shirt gets a logo or something. And then I think there's sprinklers that come on, and then you have to do this like ninja, Mission Impossible thing and throw the pizza up in the air and duck through and catch it, and then elbow smash the neighbor or something. I don't remember. But anyway, and then you get $3. It's great.
That must be what you people who spend a lot of money on cable TV get to see, because I've never seen that. That has to be a commercial, right?
It is a commercial, yes, and it's on occasionally during the news, which is about all I watch.
I don't have any of that.
Yeah, it's something.
$40 a week for coffee.
Oh my goodness.
Dang. That's like close to my cell phone bill, and I have a big cell phone bill.
I'm just going to throw it out. I spend $9 a month, and I'm and I probably get 2 iced coffees a day.
Doing it yourself?
No, there's a subscription place. $9 is all I pay.
No, what are you doing?
Goodness.
$9, and I can start. Yeah, like if anybody wants to find out, I'll give you the lowdown on it. It's a pretty good deal.
Like I said, there are things, if that is troubling, because trust me, we have all been in positions where finances are tight. You are not alone. Don't feel ashamed, but there are things that you can do right now. My friend Chuck was the one. He was the president of one of the local credit unions, and he would talk about, people that he would consult with, and they, he would be at their house, and they would have like 2 boxes of pizza sitting there, and this and that, and he's like, I can just count up about $100 right here they could have saved, as opposed to trying to get financial advice.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Let's I want to hit a couple more things quickly. We'll do this. Dan mentioned trailers, and somebody else mentioned trailers also. Positives and negatives with that, depending upon where you live. It's nice in a case like my area. I can leave the gear in a trailer. I don't have to unload the truck if we need the truck for something, and go that route. Obviously, the gas mileage is a huge issue. That cuts your gas mileage down on whatever vehicle you're running. That's a part. Security is also a concern when you have a trailer. If you're, depending upon where you're at, out here, I'm going to have a raccoon is going to go and attack my trailer, or the gray fox that comes through the yard. Yeah, we're pretty safe out here. But in many areas, trailers are susceptible to break-ins, and many insurance companies, if you are insuring your gear that way, do not cover it in a trailer without without things going on. So it's certainly a concern there, as is leaving your gear in your vehicle out at the street overnight can also be an insurance issue if you go that route. Trucks
pain to back up.
Yeah, there's just a lot of little nuances there. So, and then of course carts. We could have talked about carts and hauling gear that way, but I think we're just going to pass on that for tonight because we are pretty much up against the end. So,
carts.
I think I found our topic for next week.
Yeah, I was going to say carts, 4 wheels and a handle. Okay, next.
Yeah. Oh, come on now. There's some that have like 2 handles.
I will give you advice really quick on carts that everyone gave me. Don't buy the smallest one. No, I'll be fine. No, you really shouldn't buy the tiniest one. No, it'll be fine. I shouldn't have bought the tiniest one.
Listen, if you got one that has a TV on it, some handles, and be able to hold all your gear, it doubles as both.
It needs bigger wheels, and there's just no room. I can't. It's rough on, like, just going through the carpeting at the casino. I feel like I'm pushing a truck. It's challenging.
Yeah, they can be.
Anyway, sorry.
So, up next, Howie and DJ Scrap are going to be talking here at 10 o'clock Eastern. That's at DJNTV.com/chill. And then tomorrow night we'll have the Tuesday Night Music Show at 10 o'clock Eastern and in the chill room, again, DJNTV.com/chill. And then we'll have one of our pre-recorded shows that'll be going on at 9 o'clock. There have been questions about when Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe is going to be coming back. We will be bringing that back in the fall. One of the reasons we kind of put it off is because every show became kind of, as we started this one, talking about that, gear that's not going to be available for months. And it's still that way. So it's like, we really don't have anything to talk about that is outside of, this is what an XLR is, and this is how you plug an XLR into something else. And those are still valuable shows, but if we have to, we're going to save those for our fall schedule if there's no gear to talk about. But we'll be after Labor Day, Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe, we'll be back on the schedule. So anything else, guys?
Next Monday?
Next Monday is our monthly training night. That's right. We've got that, DJNTV.com/virtual expo. You can go check that out. What I did is I went to some of the folks who had been putting together some really cool promotional things for their shows. And I want to get some tips from them on what you can be doing now in 2022 at your events to be able to get really cool things to be able to use for your 2023 and 2024 marketing. What they're looking for, what they do, how they capture some of the stuff they capture. So we've got 4 people who have been kind of following, who've been doing a really nice job with that. So we're going to get to hear them. So we've got Don Carlo, Aaron. Aaron's going to come. He's a new guy you guys are going to get to meet from Rochester, down in the Rochester area. Jason Jana is doing it, and Jim Cerrone. All 4 of them have been doing some really cool promotional things, and they're going to show you a little bit about what they've been doing, and then we're going to talk about how and what they look for to capture to get those cool things. So, yeah, next Monday night. That'll be at 8 o'clock Eastern.
Very cool.
Okay. ntv.com/chill. Putting it into the chat. Da, da, da. Okay.
All right.
I think we're good.
Well, on that note, thank you guys very much for taking time out of your night to come join us. Hopefully we weren't too much of a downer, but maybe it was a wake-up call for you. Who knows? In any way, shape, or form that was. We hope you enjoyed the show and you learned something along the way. Have yourself a great night, and we'll see you next time. Bye.